Hey everybody, this is OD Trey, and we're back with another WoW video. And in today's WoW video, we're going to be discussing some of my issues with the current Boomkin design. Boomkin being Balance Druid Moonkin. Now, the current Moonkin system revolves around a specific mechanic called Eclipse and Total Eclipse. Okay? So Total Eclipse is our mastery, but it's directly linked to our Eclipse system, so that's why we're going to include it. The way it works is that you'll notice down here on my Wrath and Starfire that there's the number 2 on each of those. That means that I need to cast 2 spells to enter an Eclipse on either one of those. If I cast 2 Wraths, I'll enter Lunar Eclipse. If I cast 2 Starfires, I'll enter a Solar Eclipse. Solar will buff Wrath, and Lunar will buff Starfires. So they work opposite of each other. You do a Starfires to buff your Wraths, and you do Wraths to buff your Starfires. So an example of what this looks like is I'll do 2 Wraths, and you'll see the Lunar Moons come up. Now I have the Lunar Eclipse buff, which is reducing the cast time of my Starfire and increasing its critical strike. Now, you'll notice that I've only got the number 1 here because I cast 1 of these spells outside of an Eclipse. So now I just need to cast 1 more, and now I'm in a Solar Eclipse. Same thing for Wrath, except for Wrath gets increased damage while in Solar Eclipse instead of increased critical strike chance. So this is, now you'll notice that Wrath has got a 2 and Starfire doesn't have anything. That means that Starfire, we cannot re-enter another Solar Eclipse because the last Eclipse we did was a Solar. So it's telling us we have to do a Lunar Eclipse. So I do 2 Wraths, and now we're back into a Lunar Eclipse. And then I have my 20% increased critical strike chance with Starfire. So that's the general system and how it works. Now, Star Surge plays a role in all of this. Star Surge says it empowers the bonus of the active Eclipse. So let's go ahead and empower the Wrath right now. So I'm going to go into Solar Eclipse, and then I'm going to cast some Star Surges. And you'll notice that that went from 20% increased damage to 28% increased damage. So every time I cast a Star Surge while in an Eclipse, I'm increasing the bonus up there. Now, I do have a few issues with that system in general, because if I am casting Star Surges, I'm not casting the spell that is getting buffed from Star Surges. And also, the 15-second duration of an Eclipse does not get increased by Star Surge. So you are losing out on casts of whatever the empowered spell is. Now, Star Surge is a very strong spell to begin with, but let me show you kind of where this breaks down. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do enter my Solar, I'm going to do 2 of these, and now let's say I want to dot this guy up and start casting this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm out. So I was able to do 5 Wraths, and all I did was pool up my Star Surge, my Astral Power, so that on the next guy that I decide to fight, I can Star Surge, and now I have that, I'm up to 28% increased critical strike chance on Starfire. But every spell you're casting inside of an Eclipse that isn't Starfire or Wrath during their specific eclipses is burning through that Eclipse in a way that makes it so that it feels bad sometimes. That's the easiest way to put it. Like, let's say that I'm getting really close to cap here, right? And my Star Surge is, and my Eclipse is about to run out, and so I need to Star Surge. Well, I just buffed this spell. I buffed that Eclipse, and now it's gone. I got one more spell out of it before it was gone. So that's another reason I don't like the system, is because it punishes you for like casting other spells. So I come back over here, we go to solar, I do 3 of these. Now, it doesn't matter if I would get enough energy to do another Star Surge, I would not cast it. I would pool it for the next eclipse. And you just repeat this process over and over again, where you pool your Star Surges instead of casting them when it's convenient or when there's a good time. You are forced to do them all at the beginning of a eclipse, and then in doing so, you're gaining the most benefit on when you're casting those spells. So that's kind of it. Like that's why it hurts me. Like the way that I used to do it is I would cast a spell and then eclipse, or I'd cast a spell then Star Surge, cast a spell then Star Surge, right? One spell instant cast, one spell instant cast, and I really enjoyed playing like that. However, that's ruining, like that's playing this new eclipse thing incorrectly, which, like I said, it just feels bad. It leads to a lot of times when you feel like you're wasting your character's potential. So let's see if I can find some more guys to poke at. Here we go. These guys might be a little bit more robust. So we're going to do a couple of these. Oh, see, I accidentally cast the wrong spell in that eclipse. Now I feel bad for one. Alright, so now I've got 4 more seconds for this 32% crit. I lost target on him. Never mind. That was a bad example, but still, it would have only been 2 bonuses while at that, 32% crit chance. It felt like, oh, I've got this awesome power, but it's not awesome because every time you're casting Star Surge, you're losing out on a potential cast gaining the benefits of your Eclipse. So you're just throwing away all of that bonus damage that you would have had. If for whatever reason Total Eclipse didn't just apply to the Wrath or Starfire, if it also applied to Star Surge, which I know that's crazy talk because, that it could be pretty strong because Star Surge is already really powerful. But if when you're casting, Star Surge, you're also gaining that increased damage if you're in Solar, or you're gaining that increased crit chance while you're in Lunar, like that could be cool. It wouldn't feel as bad to cast those Star Surges. However, again, we're going to run into the issue where casting Star Surges late in an eclipse is still going to feel bad. Yes, it gained the effects if they made that one change, which I highly doubt they would, but you would still be kind of wasting potential. So I do have a suggestion and a solution for this. I don't just have complaints. My suggestion is this, that Star Surge gives you a Star Surge buff that lasts, for 30 seconds, whatever. It doesn't matter. Probably 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Yeah, you'd want it to be a longer buff. And then what it would do is it would enhance the next eclipse that you went into. So every Star Surge that I would cast during an eclipse would not buff the current eclipse, it would buff the next eclipse. What this does is this allows you to never feel like you've wasted a cast of Star Surge inside of an eclipse. You could cast Star Surge in the first few seconds or the last few seconds. It doesn't matter. You cast it when it felt right to you, when it was convenient, and when it was, optimal. And then when you got your next solar, or when you got your next eclipse, it would gain the benefits of however many Star Surges you cast before it. And it would work the same way as it currently does. So yeah, that's that is one suggestion I have that I think could really help smooth the gameplay out a little bit. Is, again, your Star Surge grants you a buff. Maybe the buff doesn't even have a duration. No, it'd have to have a duration. That stacks up to a certain number of times, a logical number of times that somebody might stack Star Surge inside of a hyper haste window, right? Depending on how much power they get. So let's say that there are going to be times when, we're going to see people stack this 10 times. Let's say that that's the cap. The likeliness that people are stacking 10 times is going to be extremely low. But most of the time, people are going to be getting 3 to 4 bonuses. And that makes sense. So you're looking at somewhere around 12 to 16% increased effect on whatever your eclipse is. Now, I think that has, like I said, I think that has some potential. So, one of my other issues is when you're casting these two spells, your eclipse starts right away. So you need to make sure you're doing all of your dots. Everything dot related needs to happen between eclipses, not during eclipses. So, which kind of sucks because total eclipse increases our nature damage and our arcane damage, while we have that eclipse active. So our Starfire, or our Sunfire, Moonfire, and potentially, if you decided to go Stellar Flare, or Fury of Elune, they might not be cast in the most optimal window. You would have to be giving up the other bonuses from Eclipse in order to give these things their Eclipse buffs. Do I think that these things should definitely get the Eclipse buffs? Yes. You should be spending your Eclipse, your total Eclipse bonuses on the Stellar Flare and Fury of Elune if you're going to be using those, because they get to double dip, right? So based on my mastery here, you can see nature damage by 14% and arcane damage by 14%. That's 28% stellar, flare, and Fury of Elune damage, which seems like that has a lot of good potential, for some cool stacking tricks. But yeah, that is one of the main issues that I have right now. I don't think I want to dive too much deeper into Druid's problems that they have with AoE and not having a way to dump astral power. This is a theme throughout the class, is dumping astral power is sometimes difficult to do without hurting yourself. Casting Star Surge should not feel like a loss in damage. So Star Surge needs either something else going for it, or the systems need to be improved around Star Surge, like Starfall, gaining the ability to be stacked. You can cast multiple of them and it doesn't refresh the duration. You can cast multiple and they run their full course and you do your AoE damage like any other caster would. If a shaman, casts their earth shocks and their earthquakes, and they're able to stack those out there, we should be able to do the same thing with our Star Surge and Star Falls. One last thing I want to talk about before I go is what I plan to do with this druid, why I'm leveling another druid. I want to do a Necrolord, Stellar Flare, Fury of Elune, damage over time druid. I'm calling it an Affliction Druid, and I think that it has the potential to be fun. Do I think it'll be good? I have no idea. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I just think it'll be fun. But based on the clunkiness of the Eclipse systems, I feel like it's going to be difficult, because Eclipses run a 15-second duration, and our dots are running at, this one gets up to 18, and I believe this one gets up to 22. So because of the way that these dots are staggered, and this one is going to be 24, so Stellar you'd want to be your first, Moonfire you'd want to be your second, and Sunfire you'd want to be your third. to hopefully, stagger the times out in a non-wasteful way. No, you'd want Celestial Alignment, Adaptive Swarm, Stellar Flare, Moonfire, Sunfire, Fury of Elune. And I think that is your big opener in terms of damage. My big issue is that the current best way to play Adaptive Swarm is to have everyone in your party or raid using Cancel Aura Adaptive Swarm to make the swarm go back to the boss and deal damage to the boss. That's if you plan to use Adaptive Swarm. That seems like either poor design on Blizzard's part, or the system isn't working the way it should work. If you guys like this video and you want to hear me ramble on some more about WoW, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later. I hope you have a great day.